Awakening Titan. The Vorex Collective had ruled the galaxy for over 8,000 years. Their biomechanical ships prowled between stars like ancient leviathans, their technology so advanced that most species surrendered without firing a shot. They did not conquer through malice but through the cold efficiency of beings who had long ago decided that peace meant uniformity, and uniformity required control. Commander Natalia Volkov stood on the observation deck of the UDF Intrepid, watching as Mars grew smaller in the viewscreen. The weight of command pressed down on her shoulders like gravity from a neutron star. At 43, she had never expected to lead humanity's first major military expedition beyond the Sol system. "Commander, final status reports are in," said Lieutenant Darius Jackson, his dark eyes reflecting the red glow of his data terminal. "All 78 ships report ready for jump sequence." Natalia nodded, her platinum-white hair pulled back in a severe bun that accentuated her sharp Slavic features. "Tell me again about the colony data, Lieutenant." Jackson called up the holographic display. "New Anchorage, population 8,542. Havens Point, population 12,735. Galileo Base, population 5,126. All three went dark within 6 months of each other. Initial findings suggested natural disasters, but the quantum resonance signatures detected by our probes tell a different story," finished Natalia. "Orbital bombardment. Precise. Methodical. No survivors." She still remembered the day the truth had dawned on Earth's United Council. Humanity had been expanding outward for nearly a century, establishing colonies on distant worlds they believed uninhabited. They had encountered several alien species, most primitive, a few advanced enough for basic trade. But the true powers of the galaxy had remained hidden, watching, evaluating. Until the Vorex decided 3 human colonies had expanded too far. Entering final countdown for Alcubierre drive activation, announced the ship's AI, Delphi. Full space calculations complete. Commander Volkov turned to face the bridge crew, 20 of Earth's finest officers, each representing different nations, backgrounds, and specialties. What the United Defense Fleet lacked in experience, it made up for in determination and ingenuity. "The Vorex Collective believes we are insignificant," she said, her voice carrying across the silent bridge. "They erased our colonies without declaration, without warning, because to them, we are insects. They expect us to cower, to retreat back to our home system and hide." Her gray eyes hardened. "Instead, we bring them fire." The bridge crew straightened in their seats. Lieutenant Jackson's hands moved confidently over his console. "Jump trajectory locked. Fleet is synchronized. We emerge in the Procyon system in 60 seconds. Natalia took her command chair and activated the fleet-wide comm. "This is Commander Volkov to all ships. You know why we're here. Remember New Anchorage. Remember Havens Point. Remember Galileo. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be silenced." The Alcubierre drives engaged, warping spacetime around the fleet. The stars stretched, blurred, and vanished. High Chancellor Xenax stood before the Collective Council on Vorex Prime, his metallic exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's bioluminescent lighting. His race had long ago merged with their technology, achieving near immortality at the cost of their organic form's weaknesses. "The peripheral containment operations were successful," he reported, his voice a perfectly modulated synthetic tone. 3 developing colonies of species designation THX 1138 were cleansed. The procedure was standard, leaving no survivors to report back to their homeworld. Council Elder Thrix, whose exoskeleton showed the verdigris of nearly 3,000 years of service, inclined her head. The species profile suggested minimal technology and no capacity for interstellar warfare. "Are we certain they pose no threat?" Before Xenax could respond, a subordinate rushed into the council chamber, a serious breach of protocol that caused ripples of surprise through the gathered elders. "High Chancellor, forgive the interruption," gasped the aide, but sensors have detected multiple spacetime distortions in the Procyon system. 78 unknown vessels have emerged near our monitoring station. Xenax's photoreceptors dilated in surprise. Impossible. Species THX 1138 lacks fold space capability. Their propulsion systems are rudimentary at best. The aid projected a hologram in the center of the chamber. The vessels were crewed by Vorex standards, asymmetrical designs with exposed weapon systems and heat radiators glowing red-hot. But they moved with purpose, forming into attack formations with surprising speed. They are broadcasting on all frequencies, said the aide, in multiple languages. Let us hear it, commanded Elder Thrix. A human voice filled the chamber, crisp and determined. This is Commander Natalia Volkov of the United Defense Fleet. We represent Earth and all human colonies. You have committed acts of war against humanity by destroying our settlements without provocation. We remember our dead. We come seeking justice. Silence fell over the council chamber. In 8 millennia of dominance, no species had ever retaliated against a Vorex containment operation. The concept was unprecedented. Deploy the 7th Battle Group, Xenax finally ordered. Crush this primitive fleet and prepare a full containment response for their homeworld. The battle above Procyon 4 began with mathematical precision. The Vorex 7th Battle Group emerged from fold space, 15 massive dreadnoughts, each nearly a kilometer long, surrounded by smaller frigates and fighter carriers. Their hulls shimmered with quantum phase shields, making them appear to exist slightly out of sync with reality. Vorex fleet has arrived, reported Lieutenant Jackson. Configurations match intelligence estimates. They're deploying in standard crown formation. Commander Volkov smiled thinly. Exactly as Tactical predicted. They've been using the same battle doctrine for 2,000 years. Execute Operation Parthian. Across the human fleet, a radical transformation began. Ships that had appeared to be cruisers jettisoned external hull plates, revealing themselves as carriers. Vessels that seemed to be carriers reconfigured into artillery platforms. What the Vorex had judged to be a standard military fleet suddenly became something else entirely, fluid, adaptive, unpredictable. And then came the drones. Thousands of autonomous combat units, each no larger than a human fighter, swarmed from the human ships. Unlike the methodical Vorex fighters, these moved erratically, using randomized patterns generated by quantum processors. They didn't target the Vorex vessels directly, instead, they attacked the space around them. What are they doing? Demanded Xenax, watching the battle hologram from Vorex Prime. Their weapons are detonating in empty space. Elder Thrix's analytical processors whirred. Not empty space. They're targeting the fold space re-entry points. They're trying to. She never finished her analysis. 3 Vorex dreadnoughts attempting emergency fold space jumps re-emerged directly into the human-created disruption fields. The ships tore themselves apart, their matter dispersed across multiple dimensional planes. On the Intrepid, Commander Volkov watched with grim satisfaction. Phase 2, she ordered. Deploy the Spartacus units. From the bellies of the human capital ships came a new kind of weapon, boarding craft, piloted not by humans but by advanced combat androids. The Vorex had evolved beyond physical combat millennia ago, their ships defended primarily against energy weapons and remote hacking. The androids smashed through hull sections, carving entries for human special forces teams who followed. They're inside our vessels, reported a Vorex commander, panic distorting his synthesized voice. They're using projectile weapons. Kinetic energy weapons. Explosives. Tactics from primitive warfare eras. The Vorex, who had spent thousands of years perfecting energy shielding and electronic countermeasures, found themselves vulnerable to bullets, to blades, to boots on decks. The human soldiers moved like predators through the Vorex ships, wearing exoskeletons that enhanced their already formidable physical abilities. They didn't fight like a spacefaring civilization was expected to fight. They fought like warriors who had spent their entire evolutionary history killing. From the command deck of his flagship, Fleet Commander Zorvan watched in disbelief as his battlegroup disintegrated under the human assault. His exoskeleton, once a source of pride, now felt restrictive and vulnerable compared to the fluid movement of the human fighters. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All vessels, emergency fold space jump to rally point Epsilon." But the humans had anticipated this too. The UDF Intrepid and 3 other heavy cruisers jumped directly to the Vorex rally coordinates, arriving seconds before the retreating Vorex fleet. Commander Volkov's face appeared on Zorvan's command screen. "Surrender your vessels," she said simply. "Or we continue this demonstration." Behind her, Zorvan could see human officers working with quiet efficiency. No panic. No chaos. Just determination that bordered on the fanatical. "What do you want?" Zorvan asked, his synthetic voice unable to fully convey his shock. Commander Volkov's expression remained unchanged. "First, acknowledgement of your crimes against our colonies. Second, reparations for the lives taken. Third, recognition of human sovereignty and territory. And if we refuse?" Natalia Volkov leaned closer to the screen, her gray eyes cold. "Then humanity goes to war. Not just against this battle group, but against the entire Vorex collective. We have studied you for years while you dismissed us as primitives. We know your weaknesses, your routines, your complacency. We were peaceful explorers until you massacred our people." Her voice dropped lower. "The galaxy has been silent under your rule for too long, Commander Zorvan. Humanity remembers how to scream." The transmission cut. Zorvan looked around at his shattered command deck, at the reports of boarding parties advancing through his vessel, at the sensor readings showing the rest of the human fleet moving into position. For the first time in his 300 years of existence, Fleet Commander Zorvan felt something the Vorex had engineered out of their species centuries ago. He felt fear. News of the Procyon engagement spread through the galaxy at the speed of courier vessels. Species long cowed by Vorex dominance watched in amazement as the battle recordings circulated through underground networks. The humans, newcomers, primitives, barely space-capable by collective standards, had defeated a Vorex battlegroup using tactics no established civilization would have conceived. On Earth, the United Council gathered to hear Commander Volkov's report. Her hologram stood in the center of the circular chamber, hands clasped behind her back. "The Vorex have retreated to their core systems," she stated. "Fleet Commander Zorvan has acknowledged responsibility for the colony destructions and agreed to preliminary reparation talks." Council President Hiroshi Tanaka stroked his gray beard thoughtfully. "And do you believe they will honor these agreements, Commander?" Natalia's hologram flickered slightly. "No, Mr. President. The Vorex are regrouping. Our intelligence suggests they are mobilizing their main armadas. They underestimated us once. They will not do so again." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Counselor Omar Ndiaye. Commander Volkov's expression hardened. "We struck with 78 ships and shocked the galaxy. Now we show them what humanity can truly do when provoked." She straightened to full attention. "I formally request authorization to implement Operation Thunderclap." A hush fell over the council chamber. Operation Thunderclap represented everything humanity had quietly prepared over the past 5 years, every warship, every weapon, every tactic developed in secret during their rapid expansion into space. President Tanaka looked around at his fellow counselors, saw determination in their eyes, and nodded. "Authorization granted, Commander. Show the galaxy that when humanity's fleet enters the war, even the stars will listen." The Silent Symphony. Admiral Marcus Okafor stood at the central holotable aboard the UDF Prometheus, the newly commissioned flagship of humanity's expanded fleet. At 57, his dark skin was etched with lines that spoke of a lifetime spent in service, first to the Pan-African Space Initiative, then to Earth's United Defense Force. The silver at his temples contrasted with the deep black of his close-cropped hair, and his broad shoulders carried the weight of Operation Thunderclap with practiced ease. "Status report," he commanded, his deep voice resonating through the advanced command center. Commander Volkov, recently promoted to his second-in-command, gestured at the three-dimensional star map hovering between them. "The Vorex have consolidated their forces at these 7 strategic points, sir. Their main armada, approximately 3,000 vessels, has gathered at the Arcturus Gate. The Arcturus Gate, a natural phenomenon where space-time thinned between spiral arms of the galaxy, allowing for faster-than-light travel without the energy expenditure normally required. Control of the gate meant control of commerce, movement, and military deployment across 3 sectors. Right where we want them," Marcus said with a slight smile. "And our forces?" 500 conventional warships maintained invisible formation here. Natalia indicated a position near the Jupiter defense platforms. "The remaining 1,700 ships are distributed according to Thunderclap protocols, hidden in these nebulae, asteroid fields, and gravity wells." Lieutenant Jackson, now promoted to tactical officer, looked up from his station. "Admiral, Vorex communication intercepts indicate their high command is divided. Some argue for immediate full-scale assault on Earth. Others advocate containment and isolation." Marcus nodded. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with. 2,000 years of unchallenged dominance has made them predictable." He turned to the assembled command staff. "The Vorex believe warfare is mathematics, precise, predictable, solvable. We're about to teach them that humans turned warfare into an art form." On Vorex Prime, the emergency council session had stretched into its 4th consecutive day. The chamber, normally a model of order and efficiency, now buzzed with uncharacteristic tension. "The human threat must be neutralized completely," insisted High Chancellor Xenax, his exoskeleton now augmented with additional combat systems. "We will deploy the Grand Armada to their home system and implement full species containment." Elder Thrix, whose analytical caution had earned her centuries of respect, raised a mechanical limb. "Chancellor, I advise restraint. Our preliminary analysis of the Procyon engagement reveals disturbing patterns. The humans did not fight as expected. They adapted. They improvised. They used our own tactical doctrines against us. All the more reason to crush them now, before they develop further," countered Xenax. A new voice joined the debate, fleet strategist Kryvax, whose specialized processors had analyzed every major conflict in Vorex history. "The humans knew our formations. They anticipated our responses. This suggests either extraordinary intuition or extensive pre-battle intelligence gathering. Either possibility is concerning." The council chamber fell silent as the implications settled in. The Vorex had ruled through predictability, the certainty that their overwhelming technological superiority would prevail. But against an enemy who fought unpredictably, who seemed to relish chaos and improvisation. "Deploy the Grand Armada," Xenax finally ordered. "But not to Earth. We will secure the Arcturus Gate and force the humans to come to us. On ground of our choosing, with our full might assembled, we will demonstrate the consequences of defying the collective." Operation Thunderclap began not with a bang but with silence. "All ships, go dark," Admiral Okafor ordered. Across hundreds of light-years, human vessels cut power to non-essential systems, drifting on minimal life support, waiting. Then came the bait. "UDF Hermes, you have clearance to proceed," Okafor said, his voice solemn. The Hermes was humanity's newest diplomatic vessel, ostentatiously unarmed, gleaming with external lights, broadcasting its approach to the Arcturus Gate on all frequencies. Aboard the ship, Ambassador Juno Kwan adjusted her formal attire, a blend of traditional Korean hanbok elements with the official blue and silver of the United Earth Diplomatic Corps. At 38, she had already brokered peace between 3 alien civilizations in humanity's early expansion phase. Now she prepared for the most crucial negotiation of her career, knowing full well it was designed to fail. "We're being hailed by the Vorex command vessel," reported her communications officer. Juno nodded. "On screen." High Chancellor Xenax's metallic visage filled the viewscreen. Ambassador Quan. Your presence here is unexpected. Chancellor, Juno bowed slightly, perfectly poised. I come bearing a formal declaration from the United Earth Council, seeking peaceful resolution to our conflict. There is no conflict to resolve. Xenax's synthetic voice carried artificial warmth that failed to mask its underlying coldness. There is only the natural order of the galaxy, the collective guides, lesser species comply. Juno's expression revealed nothing. Perhaps we could discuss mutual recognition of sovereignty and established borders. Humanity is willing to. Humanity, Xenax interrupted, is an anomaly that must be corrected. Your resistance at Procyon was impressive, but ultimately futile. The Grand Armada stands ready to enforce collective will. I suggest you observe. At his command, the Vorex ships activated their external illumination simultaneously, 3,000 vessels suddenly blazing against the backdrop of space, a demonstration of overwhelming force. Ambassador Quan maintained her diplomatic smile. Most impressive, Chancellor. However, I believe Admiral Okafor might have a counterpoint. Xenax's photoreceptors narrowed. Admiral who? The transmission cut as Ambassador Quan's ship executed an emergency fold-space jump, vanishing from the Arcturus gate. And then the symphony began. The first movement started with the asteroids. Hundreds of what the Vorex had classified as simple space debris suddenly shed their rocky camouflage, revealing stealth destroyers that had been hiding in plain sight for weeks. They opened fire not with energy weapons but with railguns that accelerated metal projectiles to relativistic speeds, simple physics turned into devastating force. The second movement came from beneath. Human submarines, a concept the Vorex had never applied to space warfare, emerged from the dense radiation clouds surrounding the gate. These specialized vessels, designed to operate in extreme conditions, launched electromagnetic pulse weapons that targeted the Vorex ship's neural networks. They're jamming our coordination frequencies, reported a Vorex commander, genuine alarm distorting his synthetic voice. Units are forced into individual combat logic. The third movement rose from within. Infiltration pods that had attached to Vorex hulls during routine patrols weeks earlier activated, releasing swarms of microscopic combat drones into ventilation and maintenance systems. Designed by nanotechnology pioneer Dr. Himiko Tanaka, these synthetic antibodies attacked the biomechanical interfaces that the Vorex relied upon. And still, the main human fleet had not appeared. Where are they? Demanded Xenax, his command deck awash with emergency signals. Where is their main force? As if in answer, space itself seemed to tear open. Not in the predictable patterns of normal fold-space jumps, but in chaotic, seemingly random locations throughout the Vorex formation. Human warships emerged at point-blank range, their hulls glowing with experimental shielding that Dr. Marcus Chen had reverse-engineered from Vorex technology. At the center of this carefully orchestrated chaos was the UDF Prometheus, materializing directly alongside Xenax's flagship. Chancellor Xenax, Admiral Okafor's deep voice filled the Vorex command frequencies. I believe you've met Commander Volkov. Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Admiral Marcus Okafor, architect of Operation Thunderclap. On the Prometheus's bridge, Marcus stood calmly as tactical displays showed the battle unfolding exactly as simulated in thousands of war games. The Vorex, masters of formation and synchronized warfare, were being forced into individual ship-to-ship combat, a scenario they hadn't faced in millennia. You should know, Marcus continued, that similar operations are currently underway at 16 Vorex key installations across the galaxy. This isn't just a battle, Chancellor. This is humanity announcing its presence. Xenax's response came amidst static and emergency alarms. This defiance will not stand. Even if you win today, the collective spans thousands of worlds. We will regroup. We will adapt. Marcus exchanged a glance with Natalia, whose gray eyes reflected the same iron determination. That's the difference between us, Chancellor. You say you'll adapt as if it's something new. Humans have been adapting since we crawled from the oceans. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own self-destructive tendencies. Adaptation isn't your weapon, it's our oldest friend. The battle for the Arcturus Gate lasted 26 hours by Earth Standard Time. When it ended, over half the Vorex Grand Armada lay in ruins or had surrendered. Chancellor Xenax's flagship, pride of the collective fleet, drifted powerless, boarded by human special forces led personally by Commander Volkov. In the flagship's central chamber, Natalia faced Xenax across what had once been his command platform. The High Chancellor's exoskeleton was damaged, one photoreceptor dark, his synthesized voice fluctuating between frequencies. You fight, without honor, he accused. Hidden ships. Deception. Traps. Natalia's laugh was cold. You destroyed our colonies without declaration of war, and you speak of honor? No, Chancellor. We fight to win, not to satisfy some ancient code that lets you sleep better in your mechanized shell. She stepped closer. Humanity could destroy the Vorex Collective. Right now. Today. Our fleets are positioned at your key worlds. Our infiltration teams have mapped your central systems. Her voice dropped lower. But unlike you, we don't believe peace comes through dominance. From behind her came Admiral Okafor, flanked by Ambassador Quan and a team of diplomatic officers. The United Earth Council offers terms, Marcus said, presenting a data crystal. Full recognition of human territory. Non-aggression pacts. Open trade routes. And he paused significantly, the freedom of any world that wishes to leave the collective. Xenax's remaining photoreceptor flared. You would dismantle 8,000 years of order. We would end 8,000 years of tyranny, corrected Ambassador Quan. The galaxy has been silent under Vorex rule not from contentment, but from fear. That silence ends today. As if to emphasize her point, communications channels throughout the Vorex flagship suddenly activated. Transmissions poured in from dozens of worlds, species long suppressed under collective rule, now rising up as news of the Vorex defeat spread. Your choice is simple, Admiral Okafor stated. Evolution or extinction. Adapt to a galaxy where humanity and all sentient species stand as equals, or face the consequences of continued aggression. Xenax looked from the humans to the flood of rebellion signals overtaking his ship's communications array. For the first time in his 3-century existence, the High Chancellor of the Vorex Collective did something unprecedented. He yielded. 6 months later, Admiral Okafor and Commander Volkov stood on the observation deck of the newly established Arcturus Station, a massive space habitat that served as neutral territory for diplomatic relations between formerly subjugated species. The Centauri delegation arrives tomorrow, Natalia noted, reviewing her data pad. They're bringing representatives from 6 other systems seeking mutual defense treaties. Marcus nodded, his eyes on the steady stream of ships passing through the gate, vessels of all configurations and origins, no longer required to fly Vorex identification. And the collective? Reforming, slowly. Elder Thrix leads the moderate faction. They've already granted independence to 38 systems and established a representative council. Marcus smiled slightly. And Xenax? Natalia's lips curved into a rare smile. Still protesting his unjust removal from his quarters on Earth. The cultural exchange program wasn't his idea of appropriate retirement. They fell silent, watching the stars. Beyond the observatory windows, construction drones swarmed around a massive monument being installed at the approach to the Arcturus Gate, an artistic collaboration between 12 species, dedicated to the moment when the galaxy's long silence had finally been broken. They still don't fully understand us, Natalia said quietly. The Vorex, the Centauri, even the Proxima Alliance. They see our technology, our tactics, but they miss what truly makes us dangerous. Marcus nodded. Hope. Defiance. The stubborn refusal to accept limitations. He turned to face her. The willingness to die for an ideal. And to live for one, added Natalia. Beyond them, on the edge of sensor range, a new ship appeared, the UDF Horizon, humanity's first true exploration vessel since the war. Unlike the military craft that had preceded it, the Horizon bore minimal weapons and maximum scientific equipment. Its mission, to venture beyond known space, to seek new civilizations, new possibilities. Ready for your new command? Marcus asked, nodding toward the distant ship.